Well, hello, my beautiful Leo. Welcome to my channel. This is Baba Jolie here with your twin flame reading for the end of July, right through the end of August 2025. I've already cleansed your space and I've meditated on your cards. For those of you who are returning, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for all your wonderful likes, shares, and subscribes. I am truly grateful for all your beautiful energy. Just a little reminder though, this is a general reading, not a one-to-one reading, just so you're aware. Also, please be mindful, scammers are about, pretending to be me and lots of other tarot readers. I do not do personal readings and I will never reach out to you personally to offer one. Also, I will never ask you for money, e-gifts, or donations. So if anyone masquerading as me asks for anything at all, please report them or ignore them. It is a scam, okay? Let's move straight on with your reading. Now, you may notice I have the guide chimes reinstated. I did miss them too much, so I had to bring them back. So please be mindful to turn down your volume if you are someone who is sensitive to sound, okay? So let us begin. Okay, my beautiful Leo, this is your twin flame reading for those twins who are currently in separation. The first pile will be your pile, the second pile will be your person's pile, and the third pile is the unified energy of how things come together. Also, it's worth noting to make sure you know that you're in a twin flame connection. I know that sounds really weird to say, but twin flames, you know, there is a fine line between that and a false flame, and a false flame will waste your wonderful time and drain you of your beautiful love. A twin flame, of course, is here to awaken the other twin, to stand in their primal power, to elevate towards union later on. And false flames, even though, you know, they are magnetic, just like twin flames, false flames, you know, they will trigger you without evolving. They will, you know, push and pull, but also there's no growth going on either side. It tends to be a period where you feel like you're wasting your time and that nobody's making an effort. So it's important to recognize the two. A twin flame is a formed sacred union. It's a result of shared difficulty and pain often. Twin flames, they tend to have had a very similar journey in each lifetime until they meet each other. They actually reflect back to each other their greatest strengths, but also their greatest weaknesses. So there's definitely a difference between the two, so know which one you're connected to at this moment in time. Now, a twin flame dynamic is a very challenging one. Their presence is to amplify areas to promote healing and personal development and growth. So if you have any unresolved issues from previous experiences, maybe even from childhood, those experiences or the aftermath of those experiences, they're amplified so that you cannot avoid the healing process. So that's what a twin flame dynamic does. It triggers each party to reflect on the things that have lain dormant for some time. So twin flames, of course, it's more of a spiritual awakening rather than actual physical romantic relationship. Of course, at first it is a dynamic where there's passion, intensity. You're drawn to each other magnetically, but you know, it's important to recognize that it is more of a process that starts to evolve, that prepares us to release lower vibrational energy that keeps us personally stuck in fear or addictive patterns, cycles, or even unhealthy attachments. You know, it's a very intense inner vibrational transformation, but it is a personal journey of discovery that must be done alone, and that's why there's a separation period. You know, this is a triggering as it were, to discover our true purpose and embrace unconditional love for self. And only then can the actual, reunion process really take place and a relationship be mature enough to be sustainable. Now, it's not a game, it's an energetic exchange. There tends to be a certain dynamic in a twin flame relationship, and that means a twin is a runner. Also, there's a twin that is a chaser. Now, it's always not typical to form. There's always going to be some differences, but it tends to be something that plays out in most twin flame dynamics. And the twin who is the chaser, they tend to be more evolved on their path. They are ready and willing to surrender to the union and open themselves up to the vulnerability of love. And the runner, as I mentioned earlier, it's kind of like a mirrored experience. When you look at your twin, you're actually looking at things within yourself that have left, unresolved or have kind of like been present, but you're not willing to face them. So the runner tends to be the person who looks in that mirror. They look at you as the chaser, and they see all the things within themselves that they've been running away their whole life from. So they keep on running. They feel scared, they feel triggered, and, it starts a process. And there tends to be this separation period because it's almost like in that separation period, the twin needs to kind of like reprogram toxic behaviors taught by others who were unhealed, or they may not have even been aware of their toxic behaviors. It is a process where they must face something in order to be able to surrender to true love. And often twin flames tend to have had experiences where they don't trust unconditional love. Either they've never had it, or they've been in previous experiences where they were really hurt, broken down, and they've been putting back the pieces of self together in a different way. So the stakes tend to be quite high as you reach a certain climax when you meet your twin, because of course it is not a game, it's an energetic exchange. I always liken it to magnets, both identical in polarities. When you have two magnets that are, charged in the same way, you're twins, so energetically you are the same, you're identical. And those two magnets, they want to be with each other. They're magnetic. They pull each other. They're drawn into each other's sphere, but also they repel each other. There's a space in between. And that's the space, the separation period that, of course, is often very painful and a lonely experience. And I always say, do not wait for your twin, because when you wait, the whole relationship remains suspended in the same energy. Nothing will ever change. So the process is for the chaser to put all that care, love, devotion into themselves, to focus on their sense of purpose. Twin flames have a mission in each lifetime to serve a certain purpose. Once you focus inwards on yourself and your own personal journey of discovery, you change your frequency. So therefore, you change the frequency of the magnets. And as you start to empower yourself, then of course your twin comes seeking you. They're given an option in the energy, step up or step out. Have you ever noticed that when you pull back in a twin flame dynamic, that they come seeking? Again, it's not a game. They can feel you energetically. And of course, that's why it's so important to recognize the difference between a twin flame dynamic and a false flame. If you feel like this person is not trying to do the work or giving themselves an opportunity to explore, to go deeper, that is not lost in this sense of sensuality, because sometimes, in the quest to be more intimate in a relationship, sometimes people, especially if they've had trauma, they can deny their feelings, and they can get caught up in the physical side of things and mistake it for intimacy, for example. So I feel, it's important to recognize that there are very complex dynamics in play when it comes to a twin flame as opposed to a false flame, as it were. So let's see what's going on with your twin flame dynamic. It's going to be different for everybody, but this is a check-in to see where each other are at on the journey. And this is your protagonist energy, and you got the moon card. So you're feeling very uncertain in this. you feel a little bit lost in this. I feel like you've given a lot to this connection. If you think about the moon, this can indicate that, you feel that magnetism in the twin flame dynamic. You know that you've met your twin and you were drawn to this person. However, you are withdrawing at this time, especially since you have an Eight of Cups. I feel like it's important to recognize the magnets, that when you remove your energy, you stop chasing or reaching out towards your twin, that's when the dynamics shift and change. So you're in the perfect position right now to encourage healing within your twin so that they can do the work, repair work, as it were. And I can see here that, this person is all up in their King of Swords energy. So they think about you a lot, because this pile is how do they feel about you. You're really fun to be with. They think about you a lot. They see you as someone who is stable and true, someone they can trust. But I feel you have had an experience where you're like fed up. You can't do this anymore. You've given so much of yourself. You brought the romance, the passion, the emotion. You did a deep dive on this. And a lot of you may be in dark night of the soul energy with this, because the moon can throw up a lot of fears and shadows when it comes to a twin flame dynamic. And because you have the moon energy, you're deeply reflected on yourself right now and prioritizing your own needs, because of course 8 is the number of the self. So I feel with this period that you have gone quiet. You've gone off grid, or you've removed yourself. You're trying to be stricter with yourself because you're fed up. A lot of you with that Ace of Pentacles, you're thinking about going in a different direction, perhaps yearning for a relationship that invests from the very beginning, something that feels secure. I feel that you've given so much of yourself. You offered a really healthy foundation for love to come on in, but it has triggered some fears that perhaps you are cathartically processing at this moment in time. And the Moon card indicates that, you feel a little bit unseen in this connection. But also, I feel like you're trying to be true to yourself. Of course, you love your twin. You wanted to be with them. Right from the very beginning, you knew it was love. You knew that it wasn't going to be easy with this person. They're a very complex person. It required sorting through the mud of life with this person. I feel like they're quite a closed book, as it were. However, you were drawn to this person, and there's an energy here of you questioning. Did they ever love you? Was it an illusion? Do twin flames even exist? Is this something that is just keeping you stuck in a cycle or a current that is coming back and forward, push and pull all the time? So I feel like you are removing yourself to really deeply think about your future and what it is that you want going forward. Because as I said, never wait for your twin, because each party has a journey to fulfill, and they could take a lifetime trying to become ready and emotionally available to open up to the twin flame dynamic, and that will waste your wonderful time. The twin flame has a purpose. Often people, they cut the cord with their twin, or they decide to, walk away and focus on their sense of purpose. And when divine timing is aligned, then of course you will come back into an opportunity to reunite or realign with your twin. But it's to assess whether both parties have matured to a point where both vibrations match. Now, again, easier said than done, I know. When I first met my twin, I'd gone through a very challenging breakup where I was basically a shadow of my former self. I was so broken, I could not love myself, let alone love another. And then suddenly the universe ushered in my twin when I was not seeking love. And I was scared. I got to be honest, I was the runner. In fact, I actually pushed my twin away at first. I was drawn to them. I was like, whoa, there's something different here. I feel called to be with this person. It's like I've known them my whole life. But at the same time, I'd been so shattered into a million pieces in my past, and just before I met my twin, that I was like, whoa, we need to put the brakes on. And I didn't want to do that, but my whole body had a very visceral kind of reaction to love, being drawn in, but so scared that I literally put up a brick wall, an iron wall, immediately. Even though I wanted to shout from the mountaintops, I love you, I want to be with you, there was something that was keeping it all very, very stuck. And I had to work through the stuff in order to break down those walls so that I could be free to love, to allow someone to love me, because I couldn't love myself. And you can never love another person unless you love yourself first. Remember, the cup of love starts with the self first. So a lot of you, you are withdrawing because you acknowledge that you're not feeling fulfilled in this connection right now. And And because your person with the King of Swords, they're so detached, I feel a lot of you are dealing with a person who has deep childhood wounding, okay? But something else has played out in their life where they have been very broken. Now, again, you know, everybody could say, well, why don't twins just like say that they love each other? Why don't they just say how they feel? It's easy. Well, it's not that easy, actually, especially if you're dealing with a person who finds it hard to articulate their feelings from a healthy place, even, you know, from trauma. You know, it's important to recognize that hurt people, they hit different, let's put it that way. They know what it takes to be vulnerable because they've been there. So I feel for some of you, looking at your person's energy, and this is not, you know, to excuse any behavior. If anyone's been immature in their behavior, you know, you have the right to be more audacious with your boundaries, because it's important that you teach a person how to respect you. So again, do not wait for your twin, because of course, when the moment is right, they will keep, you know, persisting in a certain cycle until they realize they cannot move like that anymore, and they have an option to step up or step out, change their ways, to really do the work. And changing their ways doesn't mean that suddenly they're like, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore, I'm just going to do this. It means doing a deep dive emotionally in order to work out the root cause of why they are emotionally avoidant, or they've been running away from something that has prevented them from truly connecting on an intimate level with anybody, let alone their twin, okay? But coming back to your energy, the moon is like the mystery of love. You know, you think about them a lot. They may even show up in your dreams, but also the moon can indicate some of you feel there's an undercurrent of deception with this person, because this can be like sleight of hand. Are you feeling that this person is not being honest and true? Well, I feel more than anything, this person is avoidant of their feelings, and they're not being honest with themselves. Looking at their energy with the Fool card, this means that they're single. It means that they are not attached to anybody. We've got the Knight of Pentacles there. So that indicates this person has an issue with loyalty. Okay, and I feel it's because this person, either you met this person when they had come out of a previous relationship that had caused a lot of pain. Okay, they may have told you about this, and if not, they may actually tell you this in the future. But that King of Swords, there's a needle and thread there and lots of stars on it. So this tells me this person's healing. Okay, and they're healing in order to be free of something so they can open themselves up to a new beginning, like have a fresh new start. I mean, this is something that they're feeling with you right now, because this pile is how you feel about them. You may feel that, you know, they don't know what they want. They're inconsistent. They're wishy-washy. They come on in when they feel amorous, for example, and then they withdraw, ghost, or abandon the connection, leaving you feel bereft, and you're just so fed up of this. The Eight of Cups indicates that now you're trying to seek a deeper meaning in what twin flames are, understanding the process and re-examining some of the things that may have happened in your twin flame connection. And you may be questioning, as I mentioned, has this person ever loved you? Well, the answer is yes, okay? But I feel this person, you know, they're learning to love themselves first, not from an egotistical place, because I feel with this person, this is a card of detachment. This is a card of kind of hinting that this person's had some sort of cruelty in their life. But also there's this energy of this person being like emotionally avoidant or detached because they've been protecting their heart. Now, of course, that doesn't help you, my beautiful Leo, in this moment, because of course it makes you feel bereft, like, well, what is this for me? You know, so I feel this is you being spun off onto your personal journey of discovery, because that's literally what an Eight of Cups means. Okay, now, of course, the Eight of Cups, you see this beautiful ladybug there walking off and seeing all these couples. So a lot of you may be looking at people like, well, how is it everybody's just getting on just fine in relationships and I'm just walking this path? Not everybody meets their twin in each lifetime, okay? And sometimes people may say that having a twin and meeting them in their lifetime is a blessing and a curse, as it were, because there's no bond like a twin flame connection. And of course, you can take a soulmate in your life. But it's worth noting that if you can overcome the obstacles within self, and your twin can, most importantly, because they tend to be the ones that are avoidant or detached, then of course it can be a very rewarding experience. both of you complete a cycle of healing, and then you come back together in union. But I feel, looking at the energy, there is this interaction with you and your person in the future, because I feel like you haven't heard the last from your person, okay? Just when you're withdrawing, in fact, I feel like you are going to see some sort of change in the dynamic. Remember the magnets, okay? Both identical in polarity, the push and pull. You're drawn to each other, but somehow it still just doesn't work, no matter how hard you try. There is an obstacle in between. And sometimes we're put on pause on purpose to fulfill our personal destiny, our true life's mission. So, as soon as you withdraw and put all of that time, energy, and care inwards, you change that frequency there. And of course, then this magnet starts to draw closer. And I feel that by you withdrawing to focus on your own needs, and of course, it can be an often very lonely and isolating and confusing path, because the moon is like confusion. It's like, well, what happened here? And a lot of you right now, it's like a protective measure. You don't want to leave your twin. You may have had this conversation like a million times, like, what did that mean? Why did they say that? There seems to be feeling there. Am I the only person feeling these emotions? Well, no, because this person's thinking about you. This person, they saw you as like a sanctuary, someone who's very grounded, someone who's loyal and dedicated, but their process of healing is something that they haven't managed to complete, especially when they met you, okay? So I would say with that Eight of Cups, you're done. You're so done with so much in this connection, and it's almost like you came out of the fire, okay? And you're like, you know what? There's regeneration here. You're focused on your sense of purpose. A lot of you may be also like questioning love. It's like love ended up hurting you. And I feel this is the reflection. Okay, and twin flames, as I mentioned, they reflect each other. So this can indicate that this person's hurt and they withdrew from love. So they kind of pushed you away, and now you're withdrawing. You're feeling that. And, twin flames, there's this energy of like equating love to pain. And this can be something that they witnessed in their childhood, like witnessing parents or guardians divorcing, for example, because this King of Swords, look up the meanings of the cards. King of Swords can indicate someone who's been in a divorce or been through such a bad separation that it got close to breaking them. They became so detached, so cold, because they had an experience that made them that way, shaped them to be that way. So either they witnessed parents or guardians divorcing, and I only mention that because they have the Fool card there, which is right from the very beginning, the very foundation of them. Something has happened where they have emulated a cycle. And unless they can really go back to the very beginning of where the hurt or the wound lies, only then can they unlock the destiny to open up to love and offer a fulfilling relationship for you. But right now it's not fulfilling for you. And right now you're like, nope, I can't do this. I'm not doing this. It's not acceptable to be doing this. You are feeling drained and exhausted in the constant ebb and flow in this connection. And of course, there's this energy here where as you withdraw, you need to be aware that you don't have to make your emotions palatable for this person. You're just living your authentic truth. You don't owe them an explanation, but you're paying attention to their actions, and their actions are speaking louder than words, okay? And I feel right now you're going to witness their actions because suddenly they have action cards. After a period of stillness, because this is the only night that does not move. It doesn't mean it's not rich and rewarding. It's a very slow pace, okay? It can be that this person, they take their time with healing because these two cards are connected, or, they take a long time to, work things out, to find the right words to say, because the King of Swords is a deep thinker, someone who basically does a lot of judging themselves. And this person is judging themselves. And I feel there is this energy here where there is some sort of self-loathing as well. So I feel this person has judged themselves harshly. And I do feel that, of course, there is communication, because they've written a message, this person, that they've stalled on sending. And you will get that message eventually, is what I'm seeing there. But they're going to give you a very deep message about their commitment issues. and why. And I feel a lot of it comes down to loyalty with this person, that they have had an experience or witnessed something regarding loyalty that has made them feel that they are vulnerable to being taken advantage of. So the best way to retain control in a relationship to protect their heart is to push people away. That's what I'm getting from this particular person. Now, of course, this reading may not resonate with everyone, but I can see here with you, my beautiful Leo, that you're just thinking about starting afresh, like cutting ties with this person, or kind of like deciding that you can't do this anymore. You invested so much of your love, care, and devotion for this person, and you offered an opportunity to have a healthy relationship, as I mentioned there. But this is you kind of leaving the familiar with this card, because you feel like you can't go round and round in circles with this, and you want to experience something new, something enriching, rewarding right from the very beginning. A relationship where you can see that there is investment. It's always very important to recognize that there's always going to be someone who doesn't see your value in, moments of life, because they're so caught up with their own story or narrative. And I feel this person's caught up in a very painful narrative from their past. And again, this is not to give them an excuse or a way out. Everyone should be accountable for their actions and how they respond. But I feel this person, they'll be aware that their narrative that shaped who they are is basically making them feel very disconnected from the rich experiences they could be having with their twin flame connection or with life in general, okay? So it's important to recognize if this person could not see the value of the relationship in that moment because they're so caught up with their trust issues, they need to remove themselves, of course, because that will just be a toxic dynamic in your relationship. And it's always important to make sure that if someone doesn't see the value of you or your relationship, don't ever let that person be you. So you are reclaiming your power in this moment and saying, that's enough. This is where real growth happens, when you're tired of the same old thing, just a different day. So I'm seeing here that you are fed up and tired. You're walking away from something, and that's where the real growth is happening for you right now, okay? Now, it is triggering your person to kind of like want to start again. I mean, there's two beginnings here. I feel the beginnings are different though. Looking at the energy, this person is judging themselves. They're judging their journey. They can see that the relationship came to a halt. I feel this person, because of whatever challenges they've encountered, I feel that they want to invest in a relationship with you and they want to heal it. They've got a needle and thread King of Swords. Now, I want you to be aware of this deck, that there are two different types of kings, two different emperors in this deck, and you got the one for your twin with the needle and thread. And this person, as you can see, this is how they feel about you. So they see you as being very playful, fun to be with, that, you make it look effortless to dive deep emotionally. Also, there is this energy, and I don't really want to play the blame game here. It's almost like you and this person, it's not that it was no strings attached at the very beginning of the relationship, but I feel it was just like fun. And then feelings started getting caught. And then I actually feel that there was some sort of misunderstanding right at the beginning of your relationship. I can't pinpoint it, I gotta be honest with you, but I feel there will be a conversation about that in the future. So if one person pulled away and there was certain reasons for that that were nothing to do with the actual relationship itself, it can be that it got misunderstood. Like, oh, there's some sort of break, or there's some sort of pushing away here. And it just became two people kind of witnessing each other pulling away because of that one moment. Now, of course, this is when people realize that, twins, very delicate dynamic, especially runners, when it comes to love, if they've had pain, and of course, it's a mirrored experience. So even if you're a chaser, you will also feel very vulnerable in the relationship. So it can indicate that some emotions have been triggered here, and unhealed responses have occurred. So it's emulated a cycle. So if there's like a very sensitive subject where someone says something that is taken the wrong way, it can be like drop the hot potato. So I'm just getting that occurring in this particular twin flame dynamic. But where is it right now? Right now, you're walking away. Right now, you're focused on your sense of purpose. Right now, you want to kind of like have a relationship that is authentic, that is, deeper. And I feel, of course, you have an authentic, deep relationship and connection with your person. However, they're not capable of meeting you halfway at this moment in time. We can only meet each other as deeply as we have met ourselves. And you've got the Moon card, so that means that you've met yourself on a very deep level. You know, you've done a lot of soul searching and you've done a lot of inner work. You've transformed over the years. But this person, it feels like, you know, they're only getting started on their journey. And maybe they were a little bit immature when they first met you, or maybe there was even a bit of an age gap here. But in your future, I see maturity. I see an energy of choice. I see this person like keeping tabs on you or keeping eyes on you, spying, because we do have that Page of Wands there. So it can be this person is like checking out what you're up to, because this person, I feel like they are going to come towards you for some sort of communication about the way things were left. Okay, so they may actually ask to have, you know, another opportunity to connect to you. I will pull a card on it because we do have that Knight of Pentacles. So it can be that it's going to be a project. It's going to be a very slow moving process with this person. With that King of Swords, I'm being given this energy that it's like you were a healer to them. And it's really important to recognize that a healer isn't someone you just go to for healing, right? A healer is someone who triggers things within yourself to heal yourself. So if you think about the nature of going to like a counselor, for example, because I feel this person may actually tell you that they have either started counseling or have been contemplating counseling for something from their past that was nothing to do with this twin flame dynamic, but it will help them unlock a lot of stuff that will help them move forward. It will be a slow process, but it is a mending process. But if you think about the nature of a counselor, you know, you go to a counselor who will ask leading questions to probe what you've been through and, you know, the root causes of things. That counselor doesn't heal you. That counselor offers you a platform to answer the questions or go deeper or think about things that you wouldn't even think about as a root cause. So it's like the light in the darkness. And I feel you were the light in the darkness for this person, where, you know, it's become draining now for you because I feel like you offered this sanctuary, but you are aware that you are a human who requires to be loved and in a healthy way, that you're not just here to be someone's emotional crutch. I mean, you'll be there for this person. I definitely see that you have been, and you've been, you know, so supportive of this person, but I feel there's an energy here of not wanting to lose yourself and, you know, being the cost of this relationship because of this person's inability to open up to a healthy love or love you in the way that you truly deserve and desire, if that makes sense. But the King of Swords is present for your person. So this means they think about you a lot, and they also think about mending this connection. But I feel this person has stayed back for some reason, and there's a weird energy coming out about this. It's almost like they feel like it is more beneficial for you if they stay away. Okay, that's what I've got coming through. So I'm going to pull a card on it to see a little bit further on this. But I feel a lot of you have decided it's done. And unless this person comes towards you with solid action, I feel like you're not going back. Because the Eight of Cups is to move forward. It's like, you know what? I've done all I can in this, and I just feel empty. And now I'm looking for someone who reflects back at me, a relationship that is sustainable. We've got the Ten of Pentacles. Okay, so this can be something that played out in a marriage or in their home life, because the Ten of Pentacles is about like legacy, generational kind of energy. So this person, there may have been some sort of generational wounding or something that they witnessed or experienced in childhood. Ten of Pentacles is about their family, okay? It's about knowledge. It's about investment as well. Oof, okay. So very intense. We've got Six of Pentacles, which is an energy of balance. Ten of Wands, they've got some baggage from something that has been very heavy. So I feel this person needs a little bit more harmony in their life. I mean, I got to give it to you. For some of you, you know, this person may be like, you know what? There's a lot of like mixed up things going on regarding their family, and they just didn't want you to get mixed up in all of it, whatever that means for some of you. So I'm just going to leave that there because I feel it's not something that should be probed any further. But the Six of Pentacles is this energy of like, I want to say breadcrumbing, and I feel this person had an alternative obstruction or kind of like responsibility, as it were, and it wasn't that they were two-timing you. I don't feel this person was cheating, okay? There's no energy here to suggest that. What I see is they had family responsibilities, or there's something regarding a family secret or something. I just feel there's something here that has caused the breakdown of this person to like carry a heavy burden, and they need to sort through that and find harmony or balance through that before they can truly open up. And yeah, it keeps pointing to the very root of this person. Ten of Wands is a lot of responsibility, or even a very painful ending on something. It can be that this person is trying to sort through baggage from previous experiences to, release emotions. Doesn't mean they want to go back to a past situation. It just means that they're carrying something with them that has been, burdening them for some time. And the Fool card is to release, to be free from something. And of course, we have that Ten of Pentacles there. So this can be a family responsibility, or for some of you, not all of you, it could be that they were in a high-level commitment with somebody and it ended badly to the point where they just did everything in the connection. And they felt really stuck in a rut, and they were not expecting love to come on in when they met you. And that Six of Pentacles energy can kind of feel like they were in between worlds when they first met you, and they wanted love, but at the same time they were so closed off, saying like, I'm not going to repeat that experience again. So I feel there is this energy of trying to find harmony in their life, but also maybe even financial stability. I feel this person in the past has given out more than they received, and you offer them unconditional love. And I want to say there's something about loyalty here. This is literally a card of loyalty. Ten of Pentacles. If you know the traditional Rider-Waite Tarot, the Ten of Pentacles has, two dogs on there, which represents companionship, loyalty, investment in the long term, but it can also, of course, indicate family. So there may have been some sort of family interference or responsibilities that this person was like, I can't give to this. But I also feel like there's a secret or something here. Not a secret that they had like another person, but something that I feel is just like hush-hush or locked off, very private. As I said at the beginning, I feel this person is like a closed book. And this person may have told you about this or hinted at this, but it's something you will definitely look into a little bit further in your future, because you haven't heard the last of this person. Whether you engage any further with this person, that's your prerogative. At the moment, I don't see you doing that. At the moment, I see you like, nope, you know what, I've done it. I can't do this no more. And this person is going to come towards you. And the Knight of Pentacles indicates this person is going to be very realistic about what they can offer in a relationship, but they're determined to mend this. This is a card of determination, hard work. Someone who's willing to make the effort and show up. And I feel this person's not going to really give up on trying to commit to this connection, but they have to be aware that there needs to be some healing here. The commitment and dedication to the relationship has to start with themselves first, because we cannot change ourselves for another person. Never. Because we're always going to fall into a cycle repeat. We have to want to change for ourselves first before we can truly see a reflection of that in our outer circumstances. So the outcome energy, we have the leadership card. So of course, this is an Aries energy, which for some of you, you may have been dealing with an Aries, because there's a Fool card and a Emperor energy, which is all about Aries, but it doesn't have to be. It has to be this energy of like taking ownership, responsibility. And of course, there's always going to be responsibility in life, but that's where the maturity is. That's when, you have to acknowledge that some of the work has to be done for there to be some progress. And I feel with that Seven of Cups energy, I would have to say that there is the potential to repeat a cycle with this person because they're still doing the work. Seven of Cups is a card of commitment issues. I got to be straight with you. If you always have to look up the meanings of the cards, because that will tell you the true reflection. So there is maturity. Of course, the Emperor is to think about the 5-year plan. It is to, be brave and be headstrong and also achieve mastery over self, as it were. However, with that Seven of Cups, it means that this person is getting clear on what it is they want in life. But you're not a light switch, my beautiful Leo. You're not here to be just waiting to be turned on and off, right? You're here to live your life. So I feel with this Seven of Cups energy, this is a card of kind of like looking at the situation and making a decision, which I feel both of you will have an option to do in the future. And I feel that, you know, both of you will make an emotional decision to stop, like, I don't want to say deluding oneself, because it's not delusion, but when you have the moon and you have the Seven of Cups there, this can be like, let's call it how it is. I love you and you love me, but we can't make it work. We're not aligned at this moment in time. So let's keep the separation period as a breath to find our way, to discover more about ourselves. And once we find that level of maturity that we can open up to intimacy, maybe then we can give it a shot. But right now, I'm not going to waste my time on this any further. Okay? I feel there's this energy of needing to be true to self. So I feel there's going to be a very delicate but hard conversation to have with your person in your future. But I will pull a card on this. And remember, this is for the next 6 weeks. This is not forever. This reading is for the next 6 weeks. So I would say this person, you're going to hear from them, but they're still in this like finding their way period. And, you know, everyone always says, well, how long? How long? Well, how long is a piece of string? You've got your journey and you are, you know, committed to that journey, and your person is committed to theirs. And if they find it really hard or even refuse to do the work, then it's going to take a lot longer. And every twin journey is going to be different. But we do have that Page of Wands energy, which is an energy here, of course, of being a free spirit, but also being curious, looking at the situation deeper, trying to understand the commitment issue at hand. So I feel like your person is seeking to understand, to go deeper so they can mature, but also so are you from a different viewpoint, which is like, okay, I can see there's a commitment issue here, because if you see this figure, they're like looking through the looking glass, and the commitment issue card is right here. So you can see this and you're like, you know what, it's spinning me off to follow my passions and connect to my sense of purpose, because the Page of Wands is a card of, you know, being enthusiastic about your dreams, your goals, and finding what your mission is in this lifetime. But I do see that your person is going to reach out and they're going to send you a message that you may feel uncertain about, and you may question this message a lot. But then there's going to be a flurry of activity where they send you more messages. And I'm going to pull a card because this person will talk about the future and they really mean it. They really do. But they're just not emotionally available to offer you that in this moment. Okay, 6 weeks, I feel like they're kind of like, yeah, working on themselves. They may discuss something about a father figure or, you know, a parental guardian, masculine energy. That's what's coming through. So it could be something they're trying to resolve regarding that, like an absent father or someone who came in and out of their life, someone who's very cold, very strict. There's just this energy of like, their emotions were not valid when they were a child. They were shut down. And again, there's no excuse here, but that does have an impact on people when they start to mature. They start to learn certain, you know, programming traits, as it were. Because I'm just hearing from my guides, children should be seen and not heard. So it's like they found it really hard to express themselves or open themselves up. And that played out in all areas of their life. So we have the Four of Pentacles, which is to be holding on to something. You know, it does indicate a foundation of trust. A healthy relationship can happen, but you will come back together in divine timing. I mean, the Four of Pentacles is an energy where you turn things around to feel safe in your circumstances, safe to love, safe to be vulnerable. And also I feel there is an attachment that this person is connected to that they need to learn to detach from, because the Fool card is to have no attachments and to be free. So at this moment in time, their energy of no attachments and be free is coming from a place of, you know, enjoying their single life. But I feel when they dig a little bit deeper, they'll realize that their sense of needing to be free is a protective measure in order to prevent them from being hurt, because they are mending from something. They have the needle and thread there, okay? I mean, the Four of Pentacles is also a card of knowledge. You know, I feel there's this energy of possession or possessiveness there, jealousy, and this can come from a wound that is to do with trust issues, a betrayal there. But also I'm being given by my guides this energy of this person being closed off, hanging on to something right now, which has rendered them closed off to opening up to intimacy. I mean, you didn't really need me to tell you that, but I do see that there is this energy where they're going to try and mend things with you. They're trying to reach out. They're trying to find a way through all the mess that they've experienced. And I do feel that in divine timing, you and this person, you can find your way towards a healthy relationship, but it's certainly going to be a very long process. I mean, you were destined to meet each other because you're meant to learn from each other. You're meant to be triggered vibrationally by each other in order to, you know, focus on your sense of purpose and also to heal from things that have lain dormant within self. But I would say there's going to be some messaging that you will be a little bit like curious about. You may take some time thinking whether you want to reconnect to that vibration, because what I'm seeing here is, my beautiful Leo, some of you, there is this energy of meeting a new person. If you haven't already, I feel there is a potential to meet someone new. And that's coming through strongly. Anyway, this deck is conversations of things that have been left unsaid. I mean, wow. I want a fresh start. So they got the Fool card. They want a fresh start. As I said, you got beginnings, but from different viewpoints. A beginning, you know, it is the same, but it's also different depending on perspective. Your beginning is like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I'm fed up, I'm drained, I'm exhausted with the same old thing. You're just giving so much of myself and then feeling lost and empty in return. So I feel your new beginning is opening yourself up to new love. You didn't want to, but I feel like you've been forced into this position. But this person, this is how they are like conversing with you, things that they have left unsaid for you. They want a fresh start, okay? And you feel like home to me. So this person is trying to find their way home to you. However, they need to find their way home to themselves first before they can offer that. Interesting that the Four of Pentacles came out because that is a home card. The Ten of Pentacles came out. This person is something to do with home with this person. So they felt secure with you, but in places where they should have felt secure in their past, like their family or their home life, that security was turned upside down in some way, or they witnessed something painful or had something happen that they have been healing from, and they learnt that, you know, love eventually equates pain. So even though they see you as home or secure right now, they're preempting a future of future hurt. So they retain their distance, they put the brake on, they push you away in order to protect themselves. And finally, we have literally this. I distance myself to avoid my feelings. This person is emotionally avoidant, but you're not here to wait for someone to find their way in that, because that would leave you just, you know, wasting your time or being in limbo for your whole life. Some twin flames, they don't come together for years, decades, sometimes never. That is the honest truth of it. It depends on the dynamic and the agreement you have with your twin flame contract before you even come to this lifetime, okay? So I'm just going to get one more card. This is an interesting deck where it may offer some more insight regarding twin flames. It's actually a twin flame deck there as well. I mean, so is the other one. It's Heart and Shadows, Oracle Healing Days, and that's a twin flame conversation deck. But this one is a twin flame deck, and it could open up insight. So the card that popped out first is the Test. Now again, very immature behavior, but you know, we're all human, we're all learning. None of us came here with a manual of how to do life. But when a person has been hurt or betrayed, to push away, sometimes a very complex dynamic, to push away is to reaffirm or test to see if this person is going to leave. So, you know, I've been in situations myself where someone pushed me to the limits, almost like feeling so unlovable within themselves that they pushed and pushed and pushed to see if I would go away. And, you know, I stuck around, of course, and they learned to love, you know, the parts of themselves that they felt were unlovable. But then, of course, it just broke down in a different way, shall we say, that particular relationship. And that was not my twin. So I feel it's important to recognize, yeah, you're going through an awakening. As you can see, you've got 2 cards of cycles. You could have got any card in this deck. I mean, I want to show you their safe space, filial love. You know, there's just different dynamics here. You got like a cycle. So you have been having some sort of cycle repeat there. And it says here, the test, you're establishing boundaries, testing your limitations. How to resolve these conflicts will determine if you'll be able to stay together. So I feel, you know, in this breath, this separation period, which is, you know, a transition period. It is a rite of passage in a twin flame dynamic. This is where both of you will, you know, focus on your sense of purpose, and it will make you stronger to come back together. There are many really well-known people who are married today who had a separation period, well-known people in the public eye who kept coming back towards each other, and, you know, they found a way to heal aspects of self in private in order to come back together. People who even divorced each other over and over again, and then finally they found that point where they could come together, or sometimes just separate if they were not married just before they come together and get married. So, you know, twin flame dynamics, they work on many different levels, but the separation period is actually to have you focus on yourself so that both of you can come together in a healthier union. And also we've got the awakening. Whenever you move away from your twin or withdraw from a connection, that's when you awaken them to the things that they need to be focusing on, so they can open themselves up to the intimacy of the twin flame dynamic. And it says your twin is awakening to your connection, and they will be ready to put in the work to manifest a reunion in the 3D world. Expect some progress. And that's exactly what's happening in this twin flame dynamic that I'm picking up on right now, but it will be a process. So I feel this is an energy where sometimes we have to turn our back on something in order to not enable a pattern that is ending up hurting us. Okay, so I will leave that there. I hope it resonates with someone out there. May not resonate with everyone, of course, but I have to honor what comes out in that moment. So we have the butterfly, of course, which is all about transformation. And I always say this, so forgive me if you've heard this before, but a caterpillar, you know, dissolves its sense of self by going into the chrysalis so it can transform and fly. And the twin flame dynamic needs to lose its way. It needs to dissolve its sense of self in separation. You're changing yourself. You're changing the dynamic, and then you give permission for the twin flame dynamic to fly. So I feel the separation is on purpose. And also, you know, we've got a bag of cash here. So this is all about investment. It doesn't have to be about money, but because so many pentacles came out, perhaps your person, you know, chose ambition as a safe route away from the hurt of love, as it were. But love is very rewarding as well, especially when you are aligned with the right person. But I feel more than anything, this is about investment in self and investment to the change in the relationship that can really see this relationship take off and fly. But at this moment in time, in its present form, you're done. And until you see actions over words, then it's going to remain done. And I do see that you'll have an option to meet someone new in your near future if you haven't already. But that's your prerogative, because the Seven of Cups tells me you'll have choices, you'll have options, and only then when you reach that point will you make the right decision, because you're listening to your heart, okay? So I'll leave it there, my beautiful Leo. I hope something does resonate for someone out there. Thank you so much, and love and light.